So to get started with FastDraw, you will need to have an activation code or have an email and password to log into the product. I'm hopeful that you guys have been able to get the software installed, but I do want to take it through start to finish. I want to be as thorough as possible. So there are two ways to log in. You should have received an email like this whenever you first registered your FastDraw. You'll see you have an activation key here, as well as some information about your account, your team name, and the links to download the software. You can click on either of these links to download the software so that you can download it right to your computer. There's a PC version and a Mac version. Once you get downloaded and installed, you're going to see a dialog like this that will allow you to either activate with a key or activate with your email and password. I see I have some questions about logging in with email. You can log in with your email and password. If you don't remember your password, just click Forgot Password here. It will take you to the website. If you'd rather activate with key, which is what I'm going to do now, I'm simply going to copy and paste this key from my email. So I'm going to copy that. And now in FastDraw, I'm going to click Activate with Key. I'm going to click Paste. It's going to take a moment here to check our servers and check our key. And then I click Activate, and I'm going to be entered into the software. So once again, if you would like to log in with your email and password, just click on the Forgot Password if you don't have it. Anytime you've logged in on our website, it will use the same password, or if you've reset your password before, logged in on FastDraw with the iPad. So I'm going to get into the product here. I want to talk about some of the basics of FastDraw, kind of the way that it's laid out. But one of the first things that I like to talk about, make sure that everybody's aware of, is how to get in touch with our support team. So our support team here at FastModel is available via email. We'll get back to you within a day. There's a support button within the software here at the top row. So click on that. You can fill out some information on our website. You can ask a question here. So we have a knowledge base. This is constantly growing. You can type in your question here. Most of the stuff is available here. But if you need to get in touch with us, just click on Contact Support, and you can send us in your message like this. So I just want to make sure everybody's aware that you can look for information in here in our knowledge base. You can click on some of our user guides. I will post the video here for this as well. And then you can also email us at any time at support@fastmodelsports.com. So having said that, it's one of the first things I like to make sure everybody's aware of. So if you have any questions, if I go too quickly through any of this, please don't hesitate to pop into the chat box, ask me to go over something again or to clarify something. Or afterwards, if you're playing around and you have some questions, just click on the support and contact us that way, or send us an email at support@fastmodelsports.com. So the software is set up in three main pieces. So kind of like a book, you're going to generally be working left to right in FastDraw. So right now I'm in the Draw tab. The Draw tab is kind of self-explanatory what you're going to do in here. You're going to create your plays in here. So you're going to create new plays. You're going to set up your diagrams. You're going to add your stencils. You're going to customize all that kind of the way that you want your frames to be here. The second tab that you'll work in, and I'm going to get into much more detail on all of these tabs here as we move through the presentation, is the Playbook tab. The Playbook tab is where you'll put together your playbooks, where you'll organize them. You can add chapters to your playbooks. You can reorder your plays throughout the playbook. You can change names, everything like that. And then lastly, once you've done all that and you've got it set up so that it's exactly like you'd like, you can click on Preview here, and you can work on all the nitty-gritty details of how you want your playbook to look. And then lastly, you can obviously print it or save it to PDF and some stuff like that. So what I want to do now is get started, kind of start to finish. I want to talk about, I'm going to talk about the Draw tab first. Now the Draw tab is where you'll spend a great deal of your time putting together your diagrams, making sure that they look exactly like you'd like. The Draw tab is going to be composed of three kind of main components. This left component here is a list of your plays. So this is anything that you've created anytime in the past. This is a good time for me to note that you don't have to click File and Save every time you create something in FastDraw. It should automatically save for you. So if you create a new play, it will automatically save to your FastDraw database, and you won't have to like manually double check and click Save and all that stuff. It should automatically do it for you and be available for you next time you open it up. But one of the things I really like to spend a lot of time kind of talking about and kind of discussing is the way to organize your plays. So each time you click on New Play up here in the upper right-hand corner, you're going to assign a play name to it, So I'm going to name this test for webinar. And then you're going to also assign it to a team. So you see all the teams that I have available here. So I will just click on All-Star. Let's say I want to save this to my All-Star team. And then you're going to assign a series to it. And these, you'll see a list of everything that I have available. And then lastly, over here on the right-hand side, you're going to assign a season to it. So all of these values are going to be very good for your organizing of your plays. That way you can constantly keep a running library of all your plays, and you can quickly and easily find them. But one of the things that goes with that is you just want to make sure you take note of where you save things when you're in this step of creating a new play, because after I click OK here, I should note too that you can change your court type here to be any court type you'd like. So if you'd like to have a high school court, a college court, whatever you'd like here. And then also you can kind of customize the way you want the basketball court to look. So if you want to show different components of the court. And then lastly, if you want to include the out of bounds areas. So if you're creating a side or an end timeout play, you'll want to probably include the out of bounds area, and then you can specify exactly what there. But those options are available to you. But when you click OK here, you're going to see that everything is saved over here by these season, team, and series values. So one of the questions we get a lot of in our support department is that customers will think that they've lost plays. And that's just because right now you can see that my filters are set to only show plays that were selected and saved using my team of NBA plays. You can see that. So what I'll do here is just change that to do All-Star. And now you'll see all of the plays that are available here, and so including the one that I just created, test for webinar. So one of the things that I really always like to make sure that I tell people when I'm doing my trainings is if you ever think you've lost your plays, there's a possibility that you're just not looking in the exact area for that play to be found in. So if anytime you want to see all of your plays, you can do so by clicking on these drop-down areas for all, for season, for all teams, and all series. And then if you're looking for your play, you can kind of search by play name here. So I know that I had webinar in here, and it looks like I have 2 plays here that are kind of created with this similar play name. And you can also search in this search box here to find the plays. So that's a kind of a quick and easy way to make sure you don't lose anything, and you can kind of keep track of where things are saved. But the great thing about this, like I said, is that you'll be able to organize your plays very well. So that way, if you create a play and save it to the correct team and season, it'll be very easy to find, for as long as you use FastDraw. So that's one of the things that I do like to make sure that I talk about there. So now I want to talk about the details and the nitty-gritty of actually creating plays and adding stencils to your plays, and some of the kind of tips and tricks and things that are available to make sure that your play diagrams look exactly as you like. So after I click new play there, it's going to show me these blank court diagrams. At any point in time, I can right-click on my diagram and see some of the options that are available for it. So if I'd ever like to make any changes to the way that I set up my court, I can do that here by right-clicking and do Edit Basketball Court. So if I do want to, say, include out-of-bounds areas, I can make this change at any time. I can also add some options for adding different frames in, but we'll get into those details in a little bit here in a second. The first thing that most people will use when they're creating a new play in FastDraw is the option, it's called Fast Add. And Fast Add will quickly and very easily drop 5 players onto the court for you so that you don't have to manually drag them all over. And so to do that, up above the frame diagrams there, you'll see a list of the main things that you're going to use when you're creating a play. So I'm going to click on Fast Add here, and now you'll see the 4 or 5 different options here to give which player the ball. So let's say I want to have player 1 have the ball. I can select that, and it's going to quickly drop all 5 players on the court for me now. And so then I can kind of click, hold my mouse, and I can drag these players around to kind of set them up exactly as I'd like. So let's say I want to make my 1 over here. I can put my 2 over here on the wing and just put all the players in exactly where you'd like by clicking and dragging with your mouse. Once you've done that, you're all set to kind of move on to the next piece, which is all the different kind of pass, cut, screen, and dribble options that are available here in this middle palette. And so this middle palette is where you'll find all the stencils that are available for creating your plays. So anytime you see these stencils here, you can just click them, hold your mouse, drag them over, and then you can use the little green kind of selector bubbles here on the edge of each of the actions to kind of drag them and change the shape of them to be exactly how you'd like. So you'll see that each of the different stencils has a different default shape, which I selected and dragged over a straight one here, but you can also drag them off of your court. And let's say I want to add a curve here instead. I can do that by placing it here using these selectors. You can see the green ones are at the end and the yellows affect the shape. So I can make the shape here to be exactly as I'd like. If I'd like this player to kind of come up the top of the key and then come down. And so some of the things that are really helpful here is you can always just click onto a stencil and drag it to be exactly where you'd like in a court. So let's say I want 4 to kind of set a screen here at the top of the key. I can drag him up to be there. I want to bring a screen over here, and I want to have him come and set a screen there and have 1 coming off the screen. So at any time you can just click, and you can really be very custom with the way that you get your players set on the court. One other thing that I like to make note of is if you want to really make sure your diagram is perfectly fit to exactly what you're looking for, you can click on a stencil, and once it's selected by showing these kind of color bubbles here, you can also use your arrow keys on your keyboard to kind of move them just 1 pixel. That way you can get them to be exactly custom, exactly where you'd like. Because sometimes with a mouse, you know, it's kind of hard to kind of hold it that still. So I do just want to make sure that I let people know about that. There are kind of different kind of small little tips and tricks that I want to talk about here when creating plays and creating diagrams. But I do, you know, encourage you to play with it, especially like right now, maybe before your seasons are starting up in earnest. Make sure you kind of just play with it and kind of become really accustomed with the way to kind of draw plays. Because I won't be able to go through every detail, but I will kind of go through some of the things that we see are asked about most often. So one of the next things that I like to make sure that I talk about is some of the options that people ask about a lot, and that I do really think will help you to create diagrams that are perfect for you. And the most important thing that I can talk about is that you can use FastBuild to quickly create new frames for this play for any plays that have multiple frames. I do have a question about right-clicking on a Mac. Macs can right-click too. So to right-click on a mouse, you can either click with 2 fingers. So you click 2 fingers at the same time, and that will be a right-click option. And you can also hold Control on your keyboard and then click. So Control and click. So hold the Control button on your keyboard and click is a right-click. And then also if you click with 2 fingers at the exact same time on your mouse, that is also a right-click. So I do want to talk about FastBuild now, which will allow you to quickly create additional frames within this play. So let's say this play that I'm creating, I want it to be broken up into 2 different frames. What I can do is click FastBuild here, and it's going to automatically read where my stencils are and where they should go. So it's going to know that this one player is going to come off of this screen at the top of the key, and it's going to cut down here near the 2. And it's going to automatically place that player over there for me. So I'm going to click on FastBuild, which is available right above the diagrams. And now you can see that my second frame here has already been filled in. So it's been filled in for me with my players set up just like that. And so if at any time I make a mistake, I can always click undo here right above, and it will undo my previous action. So this is very helpful if you accidentally click the wrong button. Then you can just click undo, and it will undo what you just did. So what I'm going to do now is I want to add a couple more stencils here for this particular play. I want the 5 player to come here across the paint to the other block. And I also want my 3 player to maybe come off a kind of a curved cut underneath to the basket. So that way I get a little bit more action here in my play. And so you can kind of see how helpful the FastBuild is going to be. So once again, I have my first frame selected here, and you can tell it's selected because it has a blue outline around it. And I'm going to click FastBuild, and now you see my second screen has my 1 player over here. My 5 has come across the paint, and my 3 is now closer to the block after his cut from the wing. So FastBuild is going to be very helpful for you when you're drawing your plays, when you have multiple frames. It's going to save you a ton of time. It's going to be able to create things much quicker for you. I do want to also talk about a couple other different options that are most commonly asked about when you're creating your plays. So a couple of those are adding text to your frames, adding text to your plays as well. There's a text icon over here in the middle section. So I kind of refer to the middle section as your stencil palette, which is going to show you all the different stencils available. So if I do want to put text directly on a frame, I can just drag this over. It's going to put a text directly on top of the basketball court here. I'll just type in test so I can show you what it looks like, and then it will be right there. I can change the color if I'd like by using this. I can make it bold or italics, and I can also affect the size there. So I'm going to actually go ahead and show you how to delete a stencil now, because I actually don't want this text onto the right on the frame itself. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to choose delete selected stencil. Once again, kind of I do encourage everybody, if you're kind of not quite sure where to find something or how to get rid of something, a lot of times they are in right click menus. So once again, you can right click on any plays to see some options. You can right click on the diagrams themselves to see the options available there. But the more common way to add text to your frames and your diagrams is called a frame description, and it's a section of text that's going to be available right below your frames themselves. So right below the frames, you'll see a little white area here, right? Kind of, hopefully you can see my mouse and see where I'm describing right now. If I double click on that section right there, it's going to bring up a text box that's called the frame description here. So I'm just going to, I want to make sure that I'm very thorough with my team. I want to make sure that my playbook shows exactly what should happen. So I'm going to type here 1 dribbles to top of key and comes off a screen from 2, all while 5 comes across the paint. So just some tips and some tricks to maybe remind you or to remind your players of what's exactly going on this frame. And that text will be put right below the frame itself, and it will be available when we print it. That way, you have another option to kind of put some description in there for you. And once again, to do that, just double click on the area directly below a frame. There's a little white area. Just double click on it and you'll be able to edit the frame description there. A couple other things that I like to make sure that I talk about. Once again, I won't go through each and every detail of creating a play and drawing a play up, but I do want to talk about some of the most popular ones. If at any time you want to change the numbers or change the text that are describing the players, you can double click right on them. And right now you can see by default it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, which 1 is circles, so he or she has the ball. But if I want to change this to some numbers or some text, I can double click on it. And let's say this is number 23. I can change that and type in 23 there. I can also use initials if I want. So instead of having it be number 4, I can use initials if I want to say put my starting lineup in there or put my starting 5 and their initials in there. And I can also customize this so that it's saved forever. So next time I create a play, if I find myself making this change every time, I can actually click on Fast Add here, click on Customize, and just change these values. So rather than being default 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, I can change them to be anything I want. So if I wanted to have initials or numbers, I can just enter the text there and click OK. For the sake of this example, though, I'm going to go ahead and flip them back to just the default 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 here. And actually, I notice now that the screen is actually set by the number 4 player. So I'm going to double click on that to show you that you can come back into a frame description at any time. I'm going to edit this text by just clicking with my mouse, just like a word processor, click OK, and now it's going to update that text to display that it was actually the 4 setting the screen at the top of the key. So once again, frame descriptions are going to be helpful, and they will be available for you to add in when you go ahead and print your playbooks as well. There are a couple other things that I like to talk about. One is the colors. So if you want to change the colors, so sometimes customers might want to have a defense be in red or anything like that, you can highlight a stencil on your frame by just clicking on it and then click the color icon to change it. So if I want my 1 here to be red, I can go ahead and do that there. Do the same for any stencils that are available. A couple other things that are helpful are shadings. So if you're, say, putting in some offensive principles for your team and you want them to be in certain areas, or defensive principles, you can just drop some shading onto the court and you can change the shape of the shading. So if I want to say, this is a section of the court that I want to describe in my frame description or something, I can drag shading over and change the shape of it. And I can also drag and put as many players on the court as possible. So, you might get started and you might do this fast add and it will just add 5 players on the court for you. But if you're creating a drill and you maybe have more than 5 players, you can drag over as many players as you want from the middle palette. And then you can change the numbers and you can make some adjustments there. You also do have the option to put in the defensive. So X1 will indicate the defensive 1 player, and those are all available there. So any stencil that you see in the middle section, you can go ahead and drag over to put them right on the court as well. So that's kind of like some of the nuts and bolts of drawing up plays, putting stencils on the court, using fast build to create additional frames and stuff like that. But what I want to tell you now is a little bit of building blocks. So building blocks are going to be a helpful tool in FastDraw that will allow you to save a lot of time if you find yourself drawing the same thing over and over again. So one thing that might be helpful here is if you're creating some plays, say for a zone offense or something like that, what I can do here is when I click New Play, up in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see that there are options available for plays and for building blocks. So what I want to do now is, rather than saving this as a play, I'm going to save it as a building block, and I'm going to save it as building block 2-3 zone. So if I find myself drawing up 5 defensive players as a 2-3 zone, I can go ahead and click OK here. Now you'll see that I have my blank screen. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put 5 players on the court, and I'm going to make them kind of a defensive zone setup. So 1, 2, maybe 3 here, 4 here, and 5 here. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make actually all 5 of these players red. So one of the things that I mentioned that's available, and a lot of people do, is make their defensive players red. And one thing that I'd like to make a tip of is if you drag your mouse and kind of put a box around all the stencils that are there, you can see that right now I have all 5 stencils selected. Now I'm going to click the color icon, and I'm going to select my recent red, and now all 5 of those players are going to be red. And the benefit of this, like I said, is if I find myself drawing the same thing over and over again, rather than doing that, I can save it as a building block. And now anytime I'm in my play section, so once again, the filters over here on the left-hand edge will show you all of the plays that you have in your library and all the plays that are available to you. So what I want to do is drop my 5 defensive players here onto this court for me. So you can see I have my court selected here, the webinar play that I just created with you guys. Now in the middle section, you'll see there's a building blocks section there. If I click on that, you'll see all the building blocks that I have saved in my system here. And so this is the one that I just created, building block 2-3 zone. If I click on this here right now, you're going to see that it's going to drop all 5 of those players right on the court in one fell swoop rather than having to add them in manually. So that's a good way to kind of give some direction for your playbooks. It's a good way to save a lot of time. So once again, to do that, just click on building blocks in the center, and you'll see all the building blocks you've previously created, and just select the one you want, and it will drop it on the court for you. If you ever want to go back and edit any building blocks, they're available on the far left edge of the software here. There's 2 different tabs. The one I'm in right now is my plays tab, so I'm showing all of my plays available here. But if I want to click on my building blocks, I can switch my tab to the building blocks. You can see it's identified here, and here are all the building blocks that I have available to me. So if I want to maybe edit that building block 2-3 zone here, if I want to make an adjustment, I can do it just like I would in any of the plays section. But this is kind of also a good time to tell people that, one of the questions that we get a lot of is people losing their plays or thinking that they lost their plays. But one of the other possibilities is that it would be saved in your building blocks section instead of plays. And so you'll just want to double check in each of these tabs anytime you are looking for a play and can't quite find it. So once again, I just want to kind of give a quick synopsis of drawing a play before I moved on to the next part, which is the playbook tab itself. And that is just anytime you need to create a new play, just click new play, title your play, assign it to a team, series, and season, And then you can go through and add in the stencils you want by starting generally with fast add to drop on 5 players really quickly. Be sure to use your fast build so that you can quickly create the next frames, and you'll be in good shape to kind of move forward that way. So hopefully, the drawing of plays is something that takes a little time to master, but once you do, hopefully you find a quick technique for you, and it becomes really second nature on how to put plays together. But one of the things that I want to talk about now is after you've created your plays and you want to print them or you want to save them into a playbook, there's a couple of different options for you. So one of the things that I like to encourage people to do is, if at any time you just want to quickly print a play or a couple plays or just a handful, short number of plays, you can do it directly from the Draw tab here. And to do that, simply use your filters to select the plays that you want to work with. So I'm going to click on All Star here, which I saved a couple of these plays. And I actually want to quickly create a playbook to print with these plays. So what I'm going to do is just click on, okay, this is the test for the webinar that I just created. Let's say I just want to create this and print this one play. On the left-hand edge of all of the plays is a little check mark box that you can put a check mark in and then click Fast Print. And Fast Print is going to quickly format a playbook for you and put it together so you can print it out right away. And to do that, you can see that it's gotten, by default, it's given you a fast print with the date and the time in here, but you can name it anything you want. So I'm going to actually name this Webinar Printing. I'm going to click OK here, and now it's going to quickly put this together for me to print. I'm going to talk a lot of detail about the Preview tab here in a second, excuse me. But if I want to print this from here, I can just click Print at the top. I can click PDF to save it as a PDF and go from there. But I will talk about the Playbook Preview section here in a moment. So once again, just to quickly print a few plays or one play or two plays, you can just put a check mark next to all the plays that you would like to print. So I'm going to just say, hypothetically, I want to print these 3 plays, put a check mark next to them, click Fast Print here in the upper right, click OK, and you can see that it's put together for me to print. So that's a quick, easy way for you to go ahead and print out a play and save it so you can, hand it out to your players at practice, or if you'd like to save it as a PDF, you can email it as attachment. There's a lot of different ways that you can kind of share it from there. The other way to create a playbook that will allow a lot more kind of customization, will allow you to save it and drag things around, is in the Playbook tab here. In the middle tab is Playbook, and on the far right hand side you'll see all the playbooks that I've created in the past. So you can see that I have a great number of playbooks that I've done throughout the years. It allows me to save it forever. It allows me to find things. You can search to find old playbooks that you've created by text here, and you can also use the Recent button to show all of the playbooks that you've recently worked with. So you can see that I've gotten a number here that I've worked with today. I can just click on it. It will automatically select it for me. But what I want to talk about in detail on this screen is the creation of playbook and making sure you have it customized and you have it set up to be exactly as you'd like. At any time in the Playbook tab, you can click on it, play, and drag it around to change the order. So if I want to create a different order, I can just drag it and drop it. I can also, on the left-hand edge, take any of these plays that are in my left-hand list of plays and drag it into this playbook. So if I want to add plays into the playbook, I simply find it in the left-hand side, click it, hold my mouse, and drag it over into the middle screen to put it into this particular playbook. Once again, you'll see all your playbooks on the right-hand side. So I'm going to click on Webinar Playbook, which I just created, and now I'm going to add some more in here so that I can quickly add more plays to this playbook. Once again, I can also check on as many plays as I'd like on the left-hand side. So if I want to add in all 6 or 7 of these plays, you can see I have 6 check marks next to plays here. I can now right-click and choose Add Plays to Chapter, and it will add it into this chapter for me. So that's kind of one of the things you might do in the Playbook tab is edit current playbooks. But if you ever want to create a new playbook, at the very top, just click New Playbook. This is going to be Webinar Playbook number 2. I created one earlier. I want to name the first chapter, let's say Offense. You'll see now you have an option to save this wherever you want. And this is for good organization. So if you would like to save things by year, you can do that. So I'm going to just save this in my 13-14 season, for example. I'm going to click Done. Now you see that I have a blank playbook here. And now I can go through my list of plays on the left-hand side, and you can change the filters to display different things. I can find the plays over here on the left-hand side, and once I've done that, I can quickly drag and drop them in like I was showing you earlier. So if I just want to put in a couple plays here, once again, drag, drop, save them in here. And then from there, I can also change the order by dragging and dropping. I can also, at the very top, click on a couple different options here to add in new chapters and new sections. So you can see I have my first chapter titled Offense, but let's say I want another chapter that's titled Defense. I can click OK there, and now I can drop plays into that chapter as well. So this is a good way for you to create more custom playbooks. So just to kind of, like I said, before I moved on from the Draw tab, I did a little synopsis, and I want to do that again now. Anytime you want to quickly print playbooks or create new playbooks, you have two different options. To quickly print a small playbook and get it printed really quickly, you can just put a check mark next to the plays you want to print. So I'm going to select 2 here. I'm going to click Fast Print here. I can optionally change the name, but if I click OK, it's going to put that playbook together for me here, and I can quickly print it or save it as PDF. But if I want to create a more specific, more detailed playbook, I can come to the Playbook tab, click on New Playbook, name the playbook, name the first chapter, save it, and then from there I can drag plays in from my left-hand list. Once again, the left-hand list is all the plays that are in your FastDraw database. The middle section is the playbook itself that you're currently working on. And then the right-hand side is a list of all the playbooks that I have in my system already. So once I kind of have done the work on my playbook tab, meaning that I've created a playbook and I've kind of put some things in order, I've set up the chapters to be like I'd like, I can then click on Preview here where I can see, a visual of what my playbook's going to look like when I print it. You can see that there's a couple different things here that are available that I like to encourage people to do. If you're kind of working on a smaller screen, you can at any time click on this middle pane here, just click on it, and that will scroll it over so that you have a little bit more section to kind of view your playbook. If you ever want to get this back, you can see that there's a sliding bar that's available there. So I can slide this to change the area. On the left-hand side as well, I can click on any of the playbooks that I've currently got in my system to display that one. You can also at the top search, and you can also click on the recent one. So I want to go back to my webinar playbook number 2 that's got 5 plays in it. I can also select the webinar playbook 1 that I created earlier. Just kind of, you can use that to find the playbook that you'd like, and then you can make some adjustments to it to make sure that you have it looking exactly like you'd want before you print it. One of the tips that's available here that I really like to encourage people to use and to take note of it being available is anytime you are in your preview tab, if you have a play showing in here that you'd like to look at in the draw tab and maybe make some edits to, you can double click on it. So let's say as an example, I want to get back to this test for webinar play in the draw tab and I want to make some adjustments to it. I can double click on it and it's going to bring it up for me in the draw tab. So what I noticed there is maybe I wanted to make this one, I wanted to change it back to black because I only want the defense to be red. I can click on color there, select the black one, click OK. Now that's black. And now if I click back to the preview, that adjustment has been shown for me and I'm all set to kind of move forward with the customization of my playbook. And now there are a lot of different options that you can use to customize your playbook. Now this is going to be, there's a lot of detail available here. So I won't go through every detail, but I will talk about some of the most commonly asked issues and kind of go from there. So anytime you're working on a playbook, you do have a lot of different options as to make it look exactly as you'd want. Those options are available by clicking Playbook Settings in the upper right-hand row of icons. So if I click Playbook Settings here, you can see all the settings that I have currently available and currently in place for this playbook. By default, you probably won't see a table of contents here. By default, it might even be 1 frame per page, which may or may not work for the playbook that you're looking at, but you can change these at any time to make sure that you have it set up to be exactly as you want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of these options off so that I can talk about them. I'm going to uncheck that, and I want to talk about the most common question that we get, and that is, how do I make a change to my playbook so it's only displaying a certain number of rows and a certain number of frames per page? Right now you can see that I have it set so that there's 9 frame diagrams on this page, but I can change this to be whatever I'd like. And to do that, click on Playbook Settings. You'll see you have a list of options available to you. Now this is a good time for me to note that your view right now might be a little bit different than the one that I'm showing. And I want to make sure that I make note of there's an advanced version, meaning that there's a lot of different options available here in the playbook settings, and there's also a basic option. Both of them are available to anybody. It's just a matter of personal preference whether you want to see all the different options here available. So you can see as I scroll through my playbook settings, I have every bit of 25 options that I can select in here or more. But if I click on File and Program Settings in FastDraw, and then I click on the Printing tab, you can see there's an option available here to view the print settings in advanced mode or leave them in the mode you're in now. It's just a total matter of preference. When you make this change, you will have to close the software and reopen it so that it updates. But I do want to make sure that I made aware of that. So once again, that's available by clicking File and Program Settings. Now in the playbook settings here, you can see that I have it set right now to be 3 frames per row and 3 rows per page, giving me my resulted 9 frames per page. Now, if I'm printing a short playbook, maybe I want to change this to be different. If I'm creating a very long playbook, maybe I even want to switch it to 4x4 to save space or whatever you'd like here. So once again, I click on Playbook Settings. I can change this by using the drop down. So I want to change it to be 1 frame per row. Or I'm sorry, yep, 1 frame per row and 1 row per page. And now you're going to see that I just have one frame for every page, and I can use this option to kind of click through here. Once again, by clicking on Playbook Settings, I can change this to do 2x2, which is also a very commonly popular option that people would use. So 2x2 here will give me the 4 frames per page. So this is just kind of whatever you like for the playbook that you're currently working on. So once again, I did that by clicking on Playbook Settings and changing the frames per row and the rows per page. A couple of the other options that are available here are the ways to make sure that the title for your playbook is customized. So at the very top here, you see Page Options, Title. I can select the blank line here to remove the title entirely. Now you'll see this long playbook for webinar go away. I can also choose some different things, whether I'd like it to be the team, the play name, whatever, but I'm going to make it back to the playbook title. And I can also do the same thing for the play labels themselves. So right above the play right now, you'll see the play name is displayed. So 310 elbow split is the name of that play. I can change this by doing the same thing, going to the play labels, clicking on title drop down, and select the one that I'd like. So once again, a couple of the most popular ones that people would change are the frames per row here, the rows per page, the labels for both the play and the page itself. A couple of the other things that are available, if you're creating a long playbook and perhaps you're even handing it out to your players or something, you might want to include a table of contents here. So you can see that if I scroll down to the bottom, there's an option to include a table of contents, and what you'll see now is that at the first page of my playbook is actually a list of all the plays that are included in this particular playbook, separated out by chapter. So once again, you can do that by clicking on Playbook Settings and just check the options that you'd like included here. And you can kind of look through and see all the different stuff that's available. So once again, this is kind of just personal preference on how you want to set your playbook up and how you want to customize it. One of the other things that's most popular here and is asked about very often is adding in a team logo. You can click on this area right here and click on Browse and save any of the picture files that you have on your computer to be the logo for this FastDraw, for your FastDraw diagram. Once you've done that, You can finish your playbook settings by specifying exactly where you'd like that logo to go. You can also customize whether you want your page numbers included or the notices, anything like that are also available to you now. So let's say I've created a set of settings that I like for this playbook, and I want to make sure that I save it for next time. I have two options that are available here. This will save you a lot of time, so I do want to make sure that you follow along here, that on the Actions button at the very top next to Print Settings, if I click on Actions, I have two options that I want to describe here. One is the Set as Default. If I select this and click to update it or save it, it's going to ask, are you sure? And I can click yes. And now anytime I create a playbook in the future, these playbook settings are going to be saved for me. And once again, to do that, I clicked on Actions at the top and did Set as Default. Now, if I'd like to save some different print settings, meaning I want to save this for next time as well as some other settings, I can click on Save as New Print Settings there, name it however I'd like, and it will then be available in this drop down so that I can remember it for next time, and it makes sure it's very easy for me to find the changes. So this is just something that you'll want to take note of. If you do find yourself putting in the same playbook settings over and over, it could save you a lot of time. And that's kind of the nuts and bolts of creating a playbook, customize the order, customize the settings, and now you have it available. You can use the arrows here to click through your playbook to make sure it looks exactly as you'd like. And then I can click print here at the top to print it to your normal computer like any other print function. You can also save it as a PDF. So that's a good option if you do want to save it to your computer, if you do want to have it available to perhaps email as attachments, stuff like that. And when you click that, you'll just be able to title it and make sure you take note of where you save it on your computer, and it will be saved for you. That's a very good way for you to create playbooks, print them out, save them as PDF, and also share them with others. There's a couple more things that I want to touch on before we close today, and that's going to be the ways that you can share and save your file and also access our resources of plays so that you can include them in your FastDraw as well. So one of the things that I want to talk about now is just that, and that's available by using the Get Plays button on the Draw tab of the software. So you'll see on the Draw tab of the software, there's a button that says Get Plays. If I click on that, it's going to open up your web browser. And it actually opened up on my other screen, so I'm going to drag it over here so I can be sure to show you. And you'll see now that we have a library of plays that we've put together on our website. We have a great list of contributors. We have a great number of people on staff that work very hard to kind of filter these and edit them and make sure that we are sharing some helpful plays with you. So if you're ever looking for some inspiration or you want to have some ideas, not only for plays, but also for drills, you can come to this website and you can see the drills that are available. There's some tags at the bottom. So if I want to just click on some shooting drills to maybe put in place for the beginning of my season, I can click on that, and it's going to show me all of the drills that are available. And now I want to talk about how you can put this into your playbook, how you can save this to your FastDraw. To do that, find the play that you want. I'm going to click on this first play. It's a four-corner shooting drill. You can see a little bit about the play, and you can see a little description of the play as well as the diagrams themselves. Now you'll see a button here that says Send to FastDraw. I'm going to click on Send to FastDraw. Now you want to enter your email address in here. You're going to want to enter the email address that's used in your FastDraw. So I'm going to enter my email address, brett@fastmodelsports.com. I'm going to click Submit. Should get a notification that my fast trade request was completed. So now I'll get an email in my regular email inbox. It's going to say, hey, you have a fast trade. You can get this into your FastDraw next time you open up your software. And to do that, at the very top, I'm going to click on Fast Trade. I'm going to click on Fast Trade Manager. It might take a second to refresh here. If you ever need to refresh, you can do that at the top. But now you'll see all the different fast trades that I've gotten in the past. For this four-corner shooting, which is the shooting drill that I found on the website, to add it into my playbook, I just put a check mark next to it. So you see I put a check mark next to that play, and I'm going to click Add to Library. It's going to make sure you want to. You can click OK. Now it'll add the message and the play into my library. I can add it into my playbooks. I can make some adjustments to it. I can edit it. It will be in my playbook and it'll be in my FastDraw database almost just as if I created the play myself. So this is, once again, a very helpful tool available on our website. And you will not see that option. That was a thing for admins, for me. But you can see now that my fourth corner shooting play has been added in. It's a playbook right now that I'm viewing in the preview tab. But if I want to find this in the draw tab and make some edits to it, once again, I can do like I described to you last time. I can double click on it. It will, in this case, ask me if I'd like to update my filter. I click yes. And now you'll see that the playbook is in my library. And I can make edits to it. I can make adjustments to it. I can add it into my playbooks. I can basically create it as if it was as if I created it myself. So once again, that's available by clicking Get Plays at the top, and then using our Fast Trade Manager here to import the play into your database of plays. The next thing that I'd like to talk about is actually the last thing, and it's one of the questions that we get a lot, and that is how to use FastDraw on multiple computers. I do encourage you to use our backup feature so that you can save your FastDraw database to our server, and that will allow you not only to access it on other computers, but it will also allow you to have a server-side backup in case your IT department wipes your computer, or it gets lost or stolen, or it's broken and cannot be fixed. And to do that, just click on Backup at the top. You can enter your name if you haven't done it already. Enter the node in and click Backup Now. And it will back up the file to our servers and save it for you so that next time you can access it as well. So I got the notification here that it completed the operation. I had some other messages on there, but now it's backed up. And now on my new computer, rather than click on Backup, I can click on Restore here. So you see there's a drop-down arrow here next to the backup icon. I can click on Restore, and what it's going to do is download that database that I just uploaded. Now that database will be available, so what it's going to do is save that database on our server, and the next time if you're on another computer and you press Restore, you're going to download the database that you previously uploaded. So it's a good way for you to keep your FastDraw database available on multiple machines. And I should also note that with your FastDraw subscription, you do have access to install FastDraw on as many computers as you'd like, but it will all be saved on your email address. So one of the things that we get asked a lot is, okay, I'm buying FastDraw and I want everybody on my staff to have it. Well, you can, if you install on multiple computers, they all will be saved on the one email address. So if you want to use Fast Trade for different emails or have different backup database files, you will need to purchase multiple seats. But once again, I do encourage everybody every so often, click on the backup icon here so that you back up your database. And that way, if your computer becomes lost or stolen, we're able to, help you out and you're able to restore it on a new computer. So that's one of the last things that I like to talk about. But in addition to the Fast Trade, you can also trade plays with other people in FastDraw. So if you ever have some coaching colleagues that want to see some of the plays that you created, or you want to share them with your assistant coach or anything like that, what you can do is similar to the fast print that I showed earlier, put a check mark next to the plays that you want to share or trade with other people. Click on Fast Trade on the upper right-hand corner. Click on Send Plays. And I'm going to enter in an email address for my colleague, Justin. I'm going to click on Send. And now next time he comes into FastDraw, he'll be able to see my plays that I just sent to him in his Fast Trade Manager and import them into his database. So it's another question that we get, how can I share with other people? You can do that using the Fast Trade option, which is almost like an internal email system for FastDraw plays. So I do want to kind of just finish here with a synopsis on all of the different pieces of FastDraw, how to go start to finish. And once again, I would like to encourage anybody, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to click the support button in your software to get in touch with us, or email us at support@fastmilesports.com. But start to finish, in a nutshell, summarizing the 53-minute presentation, you're going to start in FastDraw in the Draw tab by clicking New Play. Be sure you take note of how you save your play, whether it be through the play name or the team, series, or season. So after you save your play, they will be available in the left-hand list of plays. If you click on that play, you'll see the play diagram shown on the right-hand side. To start with a blank diagram, most of the time you're going to use Fast Add to drop all 5 players on the court, and then you can click on the icons, click on the stencils to move them around and customize exactly where you want them to be. Once you've got your play diagram set up to be exactly how you'd like, you can then quickly print them, save them as a playbook, and get them to show up in the Preview tab by 2 different ways. Once again, the quick and easy way to print something out without doing a lot of customizing is check the plays boxes on the left-hand edge, click Fast Print, name the playbook, click OK. You'll see that my playbook is now available to print or PDF. The other option is to click New Playbook at the top, name it, enter your first chapter, save it to a folder, and then drag plays in from your left-hand list of plays to the middle playbook editor. Lastly, once you have your playbook set up and you're viewing it in the Preview tab, you can click on Playbook Settings, change the settings to be exactly as you'd like, either by changing the frames per row, or some of the other common ones are to adjust the title, the play labels, include table of contents at the bottom. So those are the options to go ahead and customize this and make sure it's set up exactly as you like. And once that's done, you're all set to print it, PDF it, share it with your friends through Fast Trade, and lastly, back up your database to make sure it's saved so that you can access it on other computers and you can access it if your computer ever is lost or stolen. So once again, that's a very kind of quick and dirty rundown of start to finish through FastDraw, but I do appreciate everybody taking the time to listen today. I'm hopeful that you can have some time here before the season gets going crazy to familiarize yourself with FastDraw, familiarize yourself with putting playbooks together so that you can quickly and easily get a lot of use out of them and you kind of are familiar with them before the season becomes too chaotic for you. If you do have any questions, please get in touch with us by clicking on the support icon, and we'll be glad to help as much as we can, as quickly as we can. So thanks again for everybody's time. I'm going to post this online so that it's available so you can view it again, and it will be available on our help site. Thank you so much for your time, and best of luck this season.